Hi everybody, it's Nikki Jameson here, and today I'm going to do a painting, or try to do a painting in Corel Painter, and I'm going to take a slightly different approach this time. So what I usually do is I usually play with brushes, or show you some brushes, and I don't typically do a ton of paintings or I say realistic paintings, for the simple reason that the paintings that I tend to do tend to be a little bit more complex paintings, and so I have to do a lot of advanced planning if I'm going to do a painting like that. And by the time I think of all the planning and everything, I just get completely turned off doing it, because this is not really meant to be a teach you how to paint video. The videos I do, it's more to explore the tools that I use. But today I'm going to try and do a painting, or really just start a painting. I don't think we're going to finish it, called Red Barn. And there are many ways to start a painting in Corel Painter. Now you may notice I have this blue background here, and I actually created that blue background by bringing in this texture. I like to start with I like to start to either fill my background or color it, and because I have such a lot of textures, I like to actually bring in a texture of some sort, because that takes away the intimidation of a blank white canvas. The other thing you can do if you're just starting in Corel Painter, because it can be quite an intimidating, it can seem quite intimidating if you're new to it, is to start on a really small canvas, like maybe even half this size vertically. I just picked this one because it was something where I'd started a sketch, and the sketch was bold enough for me not to mess around with it too much, so I can actually show you what I want to show you. So what I'm going to show you today, I have my reference picture here. I actually put in this background, but you don't have to use this color background, and you can start on a white canvas, but I prefer to do this. And what I'm actually doing with this canvas, I'll just turn this layer off at the moment. This is a plain texture canvas. It's got some a woven textury feel to it, which is what I like. If I close it, I cannot paint on it. But you'll also see here at the top, I have a sketch layer. So this is how I did this sketch. I cannot remember how I actually started this sketch, but there are many ways to do a sketch in Corel Painter. You can use the effects menu. So I showed you in a previous video to you can go to surface control and sketch, but I wanted to get something slightly bolder, so I think I may have sketched this more or less just eyeballing the reference. Or the other way you can do it is that you can have the photo or your reference in your layer palette, and you can sketch over it. Okay, you can trace lightly over it. If I do that, what I do is that I try and put some bolder sketch marks on it. In Corel Painter, you can also reduce the opacity of your sketch, so it doesn't have to be all the way out there, so that you can turn it off when you finish using it. I'm going to make it around there. I put my sketch layer at the top, and I've locked it so I don't paint on it. And I was actually in the middle of painting on this layer too. So I'm using a brush called the Oil Brush Blender. And I'm just going to get rid of this layer. Actually, I won't get rid of it. I'll just add another layer. I've closed it, so it's not going to be counting at the moment. And I've placed a new layer on top. This is layer 3. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just show you how I was doing it. Now you can use any brush to blend. I also have the pastel blender. You can actually blend on the texture itself. However, just for the sake of this video, I prefer to blend on the layer above it. What you want to do for that is that you want to make sure you have pick up underlying color turned on. Otherwise, it will not pick up the color to blend it. Use any blender for this, and I have some favorite blenders that I like. Now, if you don't want to be bothered by the sketch, because all we're doing right now is blending the background, you can actually turn the sketch off. That's why it's good to have it. So if you have it on the layer above, you're actually not going to affect the layer below. So if you wanted to turn off the sketch, you could turn it off. And you can just blend that. I have a particular paper that I'm using here called abrasion. Now Corel has many lovely papers that come with it and that you can buy, and they do make a difference to your painting, especially if you're going to use a grainy brush. Okay, so this is the pastel blender. Let me swap to another blender called the oil brush blender. So in my previous video, I think or my last part of the video, I think I had stopped the video and I hadn't realized I had stopped it. So I have never done that before. So the whole of the blocking in piece where I blocked in this color for this barn was just not there. I was talking and I was actually doing it, but I wasn't recording it. What a clever girl I am. So I thought I did sort of do a recap when I suddenly realized, but I thought that I would just show you. So I'm recording this really short clip, so if it feels a bit if the video feels a bit disjointed, this is the reason why. I wanted to show you how I was blocking in the main color. So what we had done, just to do a really quick recap before I just go and repeat myself all over again, is I closed the layers that I had already done. Thank goodness for layers. And so these are the layers that I've done. You can see what I've actually done for the painting, because I blocked it in with red. Okay, so you'll get the general idea. Now, what I had started with was the why is this? Is a reset of 100? Yeah, okay. Why I had started with this brush is that I tried another one and it wasn't really blocking in, and I didn't really have time to go and find another brush. I was starting with the thick paint brushes, which are great, but maybe not as great for blocking in. So really what you probably want to do is block in with a fairly big brush, okay, and just block in the shape, the main shape. So I'm going to do this really quickly, because you'll probably see it in the next section, the bit that I haven't sort of cut out, because I didn't realize that I wasn't recording. I tried to pause the video and it just did something else. So this is a little bit different, because I did that on separate layers, but I really just wanted to show you what I did. I probably gave some useful information then, but never mind. I think there's information in the rest of the video that you will get something useful from. And this will all appear on the layer. So here what I did on the harvester thing here, or the storage, is that I just blocked in this. Should probably block it in with a darker color, but we already have the blue, so the blue background is already there. Okay, so that's part of the reason that I did that. So I hope this kind of suffices. Oops, I'm sampling color here to block it in. I know that I went down here and I picked the color from the photo. So brush is a nice brush for brushing in, or for blocking in rather. I think I also blocked in some of these trees. And at this stage you probably only really want to do a really, really loose block in. And I think I put in some shadow, some lines and shadows there. So I don't think I did it exactly like this, because no two paintings are the same as far as I'm concerned. But I did want to show you, in case you just wondered what happened. And now if I open this, you'll see this is what I did. This is what I did do. And in fact, I may even have put this on this layer. So you'll see that I opened up another layer. I did some more work on another layer. We've gone past the blocking in, and we're going to go on to the next stage. Okay, let's go to the next part of the video. What I did is that I blocked in all of this using using the color, the barn color from the photograph. Okay, and so now what I've done is I've gone to my brush called Grainy Edge, and I'm using this paper called Abrasion. So I really hope I haven't I haven't sort of cut half of that off thinking I was recording and I wasn't recording. But what I was doing was just telling you about how to block in color, what not to not worry about how it looks, and now I'm trying to use a palette knife to just create some marks, and I'm not sure, it is on a thick paint layer. I'm going to delete, oh, that one is locked, so I'm going to delete that picture because it's not really helping things. We are on a thick paint layer. Yeah, this is a very sort of finicky brush. Might not even be a good one to start with, but I like it, so let's go to Scratchy. I've changed the paper. Oh, that's a little bit better. So what I'm doing here is I'm just making some marks with this palette knife brush. Okay, it's a Corel Painter. It's in the palette knife category. Okay, so you've got your color from the photo, and then you can use your color harmonies. I'm using the on the side and at the top. If this brush is called Grainy Edge, let's try another brush. Brushy, thick knife. Let's try Dry Trail Off. I'm not sure. I'm going to reset it. See this brush, mate. Okay, it might play nice. So Dry Trail Off. This is the mark that Dry Trail Off does. Okay, so I'm going to use Dry Trail Off, and then you can always go back to your palette knife. This is a thick paint knife, so we're in Corel Painter. I'm using a thick paint. Let me just see, it's grain, bleed, paint load. I would increase the paint load maybe to 60%. Okay, so it will stay longer. When you lift your brush, it will reload. Okay. Now, this is heavy pressure. It makes a thick mark with heavy pressure. And with lighter pressure, I get a lighter mark. Now, I'm using red, I'm using this red here. And it's not really showing up that much because that's what I blocked in on, which is fine. But this is, this is the color. I'm gonna change that to another kind of red, and perhaps maybe I should even make this a bigger brush. If you're adding a little bit of detail, maybe you don't want to make it that big, especially if you're just trying this out. I'm going back to my Grainy Edge now, so I could go back to Grainy Edge and then maybe add some of this. Maybe go here. This is the way you can add some interest. Once you've actually added your main paint, if you want to add maybe some deep brown sort of to complement it, or to add some detail, that's when you can do that. I wouldn't do it at the beginning, and I'm using the side of the brush and short strokes. The other thing you want to do is to make sure you do get your values. So I can't really blend with that one. I'm going to go back to the pastel blender to blend. So when you add, you should choose your color palettes before you start painting. Okay, and then particularly for things with distance, you can use value or even do a value sketch at the beginning to create interest and light and dark. That's really what you see when you look at a painting. And I'm going to make it a bit smaller. Okay, so if I blend some of these raised thick paint marks, it'll make it easier for me to add my paint. So I'm using the pastel blender and another thick paint brush. Was I using Grainy Edge? What happened to my... Yeah, I was. So we've got some other thick paint brushes. Let's try some of those and see what we get. So I'm on layer 6, which is the barn, and I typically put my different bits on different layers. So if I start painting and add a new thick paint layer, this is a thick paint brush, I'm going to reduce the size. Now let's see if we can paint in this. Oh yeah. So if you've blocked in with a dark color, which I like to do, then you can put these this white in. And again, because it's a palette knife, you would probably use short, thick strokes. So I'm on another layer here. Perhaps I should have done it on the same layer. And this is all very rough at the moment. This is not going to be in its finished state. I am not doing a speed painting at the moment. I don't even think I'm not doing a speed painting for this particular work. I don't really want to do that. So I'm really just sort of putting in some of these edges here, and they're going to be rough for now. So I think we've used Grainy Edge, but that is my favorite brush. I know I did more in the... Oh, here we go. I know I did more in the thick paint video. I can't understand why I'm only picking these 3 brushes. Maybe it's because of what I've got in the palette, in the custom palette. It's throwing me a little bit. Okay, so how are we doing for time? 17. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of thick paint here. Kind of going fast right now, which I don't really like to do. It's not really the best, but as I say, it's really just to show you and get you started. Okay. What I would do afterwards is to build in all my highlights and detail, probably with different, maybe this, different colours. And with thick paint, you can actually build layers of thick paint, and this goes right off to the edge. So I'd probably crop this. And this is actually it's not black. It's a brown, but for some reason it's come out as black. I don't know why. Who knows why? And now I've got this colour, and it's not what I wanted. But anyway, this is a demo, so feel free to sort of vary your colour palette. Don't stick to the photo, you know, just play with it a little bit, which when you get a bit more confidence, you'll do that. You'll do that with more comfort. This is actually brown, but it looks it's very weird. Okay. Now, if I want to, I'm going to just sample this for now. Sample the green, that is. And I can add more thick paints here. And we had sort of black in the windows. I'm entirely using the thick paint grainy edge, which is a brush that I like. To get some shadows in there, and like I don't really. It's not that I don't like doing this, but I'm going to be taking shortcuts, and I don't think I should be showing shortcuts if I'm trying to sort of, you know, give you an idea on how to get started, but you will develop your own shortcuts. So here are all the palette knives. Okay, so we even have one called Heavy Texture here. It's not in my custom palette. Oh, there we go. That went rather weird, but you can see the texture that this is leaving using this particular paper. I'm going to just sample this and just add some paint here. This is really just for the video. We'll have to see if I actually decide to finish this painting. So I'm just showing you this using the thick paint brushes because I know I show a lot of brushes and I don't show a lot of paintings, but that's for you to go and show some, you know, find some paintings or start some paintings or some abstracts and just paint with these brushes and see where it gets you. I've used 3, maybe 4 brushes in this painting. Probably I would like to put these on the same layer, and I'm not sure why I can't do so, but never mind. And then, you know, you can always on the sketch layer just reduce the opacity, okay, and then put more definition in your paint. It looks a little bit more rugged this way. You can sort of get attached to the what do you call it, the sketch, which is, you know, not a bad thing, but you might want to just kind of fly a bit more solo on it. So this is maybe not the greatest painting, okay, but we've got from A to B somewhat. If you want to do the trees, like for trees, I would just put it on another layer. The trees are not as high up in my painting, you know, in the photograph, you know, there's just sort of like a suggestion of trees, but I've got some foliage brushes as well that I can use, but for the sake of this video I'm just gonna make some tree marks, and typically I think they should be a lot lower, so I probably have to erase these. I haven't had time to think this through. We'll just put some paint here. I'm almost being quite abstract, and probably what we do is just, you know, to give a suggestion of trees in the distance. I did want to at least sort of show you some of these brushes and what you can do with them. As I say, you can use your own creativity. This is just an ordinary red barn. It's the simplest picture I could find, and this is kind of very early. This is very early stages. It's not anywhere where I would say there's necessarily finished, but I like to kind of make it a little bit more abstract as well. Okay, and what I would do is sort of blend this, because you want to get some maybe idea of shadow in there, and it's quite relaxing once you get in a, you know, you get on a roll. But, you know, I wouldn't worry about this. I wouldn't, you know, even worry about doing anything that you're going to necessarily post publicly. Just use it to kind of practice. Take your own photos, because then you feel a connection with them if you can, and just try and practice. Okay, I'm going to leave this here. I hope you've learned something from this. Ooh, that's not what I wanted to do. From this really quick and dirty painting of a red barn. This has been a demonstration using the thick paint palette knives in Corel Painter. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I will see you in another video. Happy painting!